Well, there's devastating news out of Turkey this morning where at least 76 people have died in a ski resort tragedy. The fire swept through a building as people slept.
Our correspondent in Turkiye, Tlozek, is following developments and sent this update from Istanbul.
The Interior Minister has now said that the death toll has risen to 76. This morning it was announced as being 10, then it rose to 66, and now we're told that the number of dead is 76. Of those, 45 have been identified, and they're currently conducting DNA testing to try and determine the identity of the others who've been found inside the remains of the building. It was at a very high occupancy because Turkish school holidays have started, and a number of those killed and a number of the people staying at the building were families. So there were quite a lot of children staying there as well, and that's a large part of why there's so much outrage about what's occurred in Bolu overnight. The building, there are lots of questions being asked about the building supposedly having a valid fire inspection certificate, because the Turkish Chamber of Architects and Engineers has said that from the photos on the hotel's website, it can't see the mandatory sprinkler systems, the automatic sprinkler systems that all buildings in Turkey are now required to have, as well as the proper warning and detection processes that buildings are required to have under Turkey's updated fire code. So big questions are being asked about how the building managed to get a valid fire inspection certificate. In response to that, Turkey's Justice Minister has said that a number of people, including the hotel's owner, have been detained. Initially it was 4 people. We're now told in that latest update that it's gone up to 9 people. In recognition of the seriousness and just how much public anger there is about this, there are now 6 public prosecutors tasked with investigating who's responsible for the fire, whether there's any criminal responsibility, and an expert panel's also been convened to determine the cause of the fire.
Some more news now. Here's Emma.
Thanks, Bridget. Heatwave warnings remain in place for most of Western Australia, Queensland, parts of northern New South Wales and the Northern Territory. Temperatures will climb to the mid-40s in some areas, with the Bureau of Meteorology forecasting hotter than average weather. People are being urged to look after each other, with Western Australia's Health Department saying heat waves lead to more hospital presentations for dehydration and sunburn.
Think about who your neighbours are, think if they're on their own, and think about whether they have any health issues that might stop them from seeking help if they feel unwell. And so that's particularly very young children and older people who have medical comorbidities. It's outdoor workers and people who are playing sport in hot conditions who are just as likely to develop heat stroke.
WorkSafe will investigate how a 5-year-old boy was fatally crushed by a parking meter in Western Australia. The boy suffered critical injuries after the meter fell on him in a courtyard while he was visiting the Bunbury Museum as part of a school holiday program last week. The 5-year-old was airlifted to Perth Children's Hospital, where he later died. A Tasmanian community is mourning the death of a second child after a house fire on Hobart's eastern shore. The 5-year-old had been taken to hospital in a critical condition after the blaze broke out during a gathering for her birthday on Sunday. Her 22-month-old sister also died in the tragedy. The New South Wales Government and rail unions remain in a deadlock over a long-running pay dispute, but there are hopes a 2-day tribunal starting today could bring some resolve. The Minns government took the rail unions to the Fair Work Commission last week, hoping to end strike action that has disrupted train services and caused major delays for commuters. The unions initially wanted a 32% pay rise over 4 years. A 3-year-old girl has been bitten by a dingo on Queensland's Gari, formerly known as Fraser Island. The child was with family members walking down an unfenced beach near Kingfisher Bay when she was attacked. Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service says the girl was bitten on the back of the leg by a tagged dingo that was being monitored by rangers.